Got a favorite cartoon character? Ever wondered what would happen if they got charged for their crimes? Well, if you love Rick Sanchez for some reason, buckle up because he's gonna be spending a hell of a long time in the Stony Lonesome.
What are you in for?
Everything.
Dude might be 70 years old, but he is no innocent senior citizen. Over the last 100 hours, I have uncovered dozens of evil felonies he's committed in the name of science. And I'll be ranking all of Rick's crimes in order of sentence length. So we'll be starting out with stupid petty crimes and ending with the most diabolical atrocities known to mankind. Rick thinks school is nonsense, dumb, stupid, so he's always allowing Morty to skip it and sometimes even dragging him out of class himself. Missing school without a valid reason is truancy. And believe it or not, that's a crime. Cutting class isn't the only illegal behavior Rick has encouraged his grandson to partake in. There's also drug smuggling.
I'm gonna need you to take these seeds into the bathroom, and I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole. Put them way up inside there as far as they can fit.
Oh, geez, Rick. Illegal possession of a firearm.
Morty, I made you a gorilla gun. Pretty cool, huh?
A gorilla gun? Does this do what I think it does?
Yep.
Disorderly conduct by engaging in a fight.
Woo! Unbelievable! A new champ! Okay, no more! And he wants more!
And a hell of a lot of other stuff. Contributing to the delinquency of a minor is a misdemeanor, so Rick will be in the clink for a total of 360 days. Yeah, we're starting with a sentence of 360 days. Just to give you an idea of how insane these later crimes are gonna get. Hopefully, with Rick behind bars, Morty will finally stay out of trouble, but I somehow highly doubt that. Rick cares about his grandchildren equally, so when he gives Morty guns, he gives Summer something illegal too. In the episode A Rick Convenient Mort, Morty scores a date with an alien superhero, and Summer is sad because she's recently been dumped. To cheer his 17-year-old granddaughter up, Rick invites her on an outer space bar crawl.
Morglutz, Slardivart, and Furcus 9. 3 planets are all ending in a delayed succession of cataclysmic events. Morglutz's sun is going supernova, Slardivart is falling into a black hole, and Furcus 9 is getting deep impacted by an asteroid. And I'm taking my favorite grandkid along with me.
Hells yeah.
I thought only dumb people were irresponsible. Turns out everyone is. Rick and Summer tour multiple planets, drinking and having sexual encounters with aliens.
Hey, check it out! There's old people dancing!
Rick is single-handedly destroying the stereotype that grandparents are boring, and honestly, I don't know, I'm kind of here for it. Anyway, Rick committed a gross misdemeanor by supplying 17-year-old Summer with alcohol. He'd be jailed for 364 days, and judging by how much booze he drank, he probably won't even be sober when his sentence is up. Do you love spaghetti? Sorry, that was weird. Anyway, if you do, you might want to skip this part because it's gonna ruin it for you. The Smiths are enjoying a delicious spaghetti meal that Rick made specially for them. However, Morty later learns that the spaghetti he ate was made from something other than wheat.
Rick, I gotta know, what's the secret ingredient? No, why is it always the shit with you? Of course it's a person! Why couldn't it just be spaghetti?
If karma was real, Pickle Rick would have been sliced up and put inside a frickin' Big Mac. Morty feels so guilty and repulsed that he attends the funeral of one of the people he ate and confesses. After seeing a video of the funeral, the president of the Spaghetti Planet reaches out to Morty and offers him a more ethically sourced pasta.
Would you mind showing us? This is the spaghetti of a person that took their own life. They did consent to be eaten.
Okay.
Oh.
I don't know what's grosser, the pasta made from dead people or Morty's awful slurping. Morty's okay with eating pasta made from, I guess, humans who gave consent to be eaten, so the family go back to their cannibalistic spaghetti nights. While Rick technically didn't commit a crime for eating those people who turned into spaghetti, cannibalism is technically legal in all states except Idaho. He can be charged for merely removing the bodies from their original location without permission, okay? That would get him 364 days in jail. And by cooking the bodies, he could also be charged with abuse of a corpse. To be charged with the crime, Rick would have had to do something that would outrage the dead person's family. And I think it's safe to say, cooking and eating somebody would definitely piss off their relatives. That means Rick is guilty of a misdemeanor and can be jailed for the next 90 days, which, if you ask me, is incredibly lenient for such a messed up crime. Rick pretty much takes his 14-year-old grandson on dangerous, life-threatening adventures every day. And these adventures have resulted in a multitude of painful and traumatic experiences for poor Morty. Like, remember that time Rick forgot to show him how to turn on his grappling shoes?
You have to turn them on, Morty. You really did a number on your legs right now. You know, you gotta turn the shoes on, Morty, for them to work.
I'm in a lot of pain, Rick.
Or what about the time Rick left the spaceship door open a little too long?
You're staying in here where it's safe.
How about that awful experiment Rick did on Morty and the time he got eaten by an alien?
I don't know what my reaction is, but I think I'm mounting in suspicion of you.
Well, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna remember everything.
Need I go on? Those clips alone would earn the grandpa 1,456 days in jail for child endangerment. Remind me again why Beth leaves her children in the hands of her crazy, irresponsible father? Morty just wanted to go on an adventure with Rick, but somehow ended up on trial with him. Morty finds Rick drunk and depressed on the garage floor and asks to redeem his Morty adventure card so he can choose their next adventure. However, Rick flips out when he sees how many stamps Morty has. He accuses the teen of forging them and calls in an audit from a cosmic entity. An observer shows up but just wants to cause some trouble. Just to get rid of the annoying observer, Rick tells Morty that he can cash in his cards at a lower rate, but the observer overhears them and becomes offended. So as revenge, they stand on the sidewalk and play embarrassing clips of everyone in the house.
This is gonna be fine.
I'm sorry! I can't stop once I start!
Whatever.
You know what? I really do admire Jerry's self-awareness. Morty beats the observer up out of embarrassment, but ends up accidentally pushing them into an oncoming truck. Rick and Morty are put on trial over the observer's death, and the prosecution plays a series of clips showing the pair's misdeeds. And in one of these clips, it shows Rick having basically zero respect for the dead.
How long before Ben Franklin comes back to life?
Oh, yes! He came back evil. Ben Franklin! Remember we tried wrapping him in tinfoil to see if it'd shield him from the evil? Jesus Christ. It cooked him. It's so moist.
Rick, that's a guy!
Ew, man! Rick literally would have feasted on the corpse of America's founding father had Morty not been there. By digging up Franklin's grave, Rick committed unlawful disturbance of human remains and would be sentenced to 5 years in prison for the crime. He could also be charged with abuse of a corpse for cooking the founding father's body. As that's a gross misdemeanor, it means 90 more days get added to Rick's sentence. The Galactic Federation prison is the most high-max security prison in the universe, so it's the best place to imprison an evil genius like Rick Sanchez. Rick's jail cell is a bit different than you'd expect. It's a simulation based on his own memories, which the Federation is using to get a hold of the formula for his portal gun.
Jerry, get out of the booth, take all your clothes off, and fold yourself 12 times.
You got it.
Meanwhile, at the Citadel, the Council of Ricks are busy plotting the assassination of Rick C-137, and they send out the SEAL Team Ricks to finish the job. And they aren't the only Ricks plotting something illegal. The original Rick decides to fool the agent into letting him take control of the simulation. He does this by creating a false memory of how he invented the portal gun.
Come on, girls, the ice cream's gonna melt.
Wow, this sauce is fucking amazing. You said it was promoting a movie?
Man, that used to be the saddest scene in the whole show before it was revealed that it was fake, before it was revealed that it wasn't actually fake and it was actually real. Anyway, the agent believes that he has the formula to the portal gun, but it's actually a virus that lets Rick escape by transferring his consciousness into an agent. But escaping the simulation wasn't even the hardest part. The SEAL Team Ricks have arrived and shoot Rick in the head.
Hi, Rick. Bye, Rick.
But of course you can't kill off Mr. Sanchez that easily, because his consciousness was actually in another body. Rick transfers from the agent into Rick D99 and goes to find Summer and Morty at the Citadel of Ricks. A heated fight between the Ricks follows, but the original Rick eventually comes out on top and kills all the council members. Escaping prison is a crime here on Earth, so Rick could get an additional 10 years added to whatever sentence the Galactic Federation gave him. Now, Rick hates Jerry's guts, so when he told Beth he was taking her husband on a guy's day out, she should have been really suspicious. Beth goes to work while Rick takes Jerry to hang out with demons so he can repay a debt.
Jerry, exquisite finery this evening.
Don't tell Ross, but I got this little ditty from Coles.
Is it more embarrassing for Rick to be seen hanging out with the lamest guy in town or BDSM demons? After work, Beth finds Jerry at the karaoke bar and the demons invite her on a wine date. Beth drinks one too many glasses and ends up sharing embarrassing stories about Jerry with the demons.
And that was the third time he shit his pants from eating too much soup.
Wow, I did not know it was possible for Rick to be at a bar, not drunk and not covered in vomit. Jerry confronts Beth and Rick for humiliating him, and this bores the demons, causing them to go on an evil rampage in the bar.
We'll have to make our own fun.
Demons demons take Jerry with them back to hell. Rick and Beth disguise themselves as demons and try to rescue him from hell, but they also end up as hostages anyway. However, the skin hooks crumble and the three of them make a break for it. To escape, Rick must power a portal out of hell, and he does this by kidnapping a demon.
An aversion converting inversion reverter. It shoots concentrated pleasure pain inverting shrapnel. We're gonna kill them with 100% sincerity. So Jerry, just be yourself.
That's your solution. Humiliating me more?
Jerry's lameness successfully opens the portal, and they arrive back home in their BDSM gear right when Morty and Summer have a friend over. As Rick didn't kidnap the demon for ransom, he's only guilty of second-degree kidnapping. And even though that's a demon, the offense carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in jail. But anywhere's better than hell, right? Is anyone else shocked that Rick has lived to the ripe old age of 70 despite living an active lifestyle of drugs, booze, and more drugs?
And these babies just saved this lame-ass party! Bubble up a dub-dub!
I don't know what kind of outer space his grandpa is on, but I sure as hell don't want to ever try them until I'm as old as him, in which case we ball! Rick appears to have taken psychedelics in some form of alien in those clips. Nevertheless, possession of controlled substances is a serious crime. Rick would get a 15-year sentence. That's 5 years for each illegal drug he used. He really is the absolute worst role model to his grandchildren. Rick does not care about the world or the people living in it. You only need to watch the first episode of Rick and Morty to understand that. Rick bursts into Morty's room in the middle of the night and tells him that he's got a surprise. While flying in the spacecraft, Rick reveals said surprise, but it's definitely not something to look forward to.
I had to make a bomb, Morty. I had to create a bomb.
What? A bomb?
I'm gonna drop it down there. Just get a whole fresh start. Create a whole fresh start. Right now, we're gonna go pick up your little friend Jessica.
From my math class?
When I drop the bomb, I want you to have the thing. I'm gonna make it like a new Adam and Eve, and you're gonna be Adam. Jessica's gonna be Eve.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy. Morty grabs the wheel trying to stop Rick from destroying Earth, but Rick lands the spacecraft and claims it was all a test to get Morty to be more assertive. The dude's relieved, but he shouldn't be relaxing so soon.
Neutrino bomb armed.
Does that mean Rick was actually planning on carrying out the terrorist attack? Who knows? But we do know for a fact that simply threatening terrorism, even if it was just to scare Morty, is definitely a crime. The law doesn't take threats like that lightly, so Rick would wind up in prison for the next 10 years. And he's obviously committed a crime just by making the bomb in the first place. That's another 20 years added to his rapidly growing prison sentence. Has Rick ever tried, not being insane? His adventures would be so much more relaxing for Morty, but I don't think that's his goal. The writers of Rick and Morty have been accused of stealing ideas from other shows, especially Family Guy.
That's not your normal time pad. Where'd you get that?
I borrowed it from Rick and Morty. They borrowed plenty from us.
So it makes perfect sense that the characters in the show steal themselves. And I can think of one time Rick stole something very precious from a fourth dimensional entity. Time has been frozen for nearly 6 months, but Morty, Summer, and Rick are unaffected. Rick goes to unfreeze the world, but first warns the kids not to touch anything so they don't mess up the timeline. But the grandkids can't remain still for even a minute and end up getting into a fight over who Rick likes more.
You vindictive little turd!
You shut up, you big female asshole! Hey, don't shove me!
What's your problem?
What's yours?
Shut up!
You shut up!
What the hell?
You'd think Morty would know better insults at this point. Like, Rick is always talking to him like he's trash. The time rift Summer and Morty created has caused time to fracture into two equally impossible improbabilities, meaning the three of them are no longer in any timeline. So that's fun. To fix the timelines, Rick uses a time crystal he stole from the fourth dimension, but the crystal won't work because of Morty and Summer's uncertainty. Rick asks them what's up, and they tell him that they argue over who is Grandpa's favorite. Instead of reassuring his grandkids that he loves them both equally, Rick gets out a whiteboard and shows them why he hates them equally.
So in conclusion, you're both equally mercurial, overly sensitive, clingy, hysterical bird brain homunculi, which makes you both identical. All right, everything resolved? Everybody nice and certain?
Time fusion fails again, this time prompting even more clones of Rick, Morty, and Summer to show up. Rick goes crazy thinking his other selves are here to kill him, so he turns the time crystal into a gun and starts shooting, causing time to split again, resulting in 4 separate realities. To stop the fighting, Morty knocks Rick out and puts him in a dog crate. When he wakes up, a fourth dimensional being fixes the timeline and tries to arrest the grandpa for stealing the crystal.
How long exactly do we have to wear these things? They're really embarrassing.
But the only way your dumb ass could ever have one is if it was stolen.
You stole a time-freezing crystal from testicle monsters?
Even though the time crystal couldn't actually control time, it's still a very expensive and priceless item, really. That means Rick is guilty of grand theft automatically. Rick avoided going to prison by kicking the fourth dimensional being's ass, but if our police got involved, he'd be locked up for the next 30 years. Although I'm sure Rick could easily just escape to another timeline anyway. Alrighty guys, so we're halfway through the video, and Rick's sentence is already 110 years and 51 days long. And I've only shown you a fraction of what the scientist is capable of. Some of these next crimes I'm about to show are absolutely insane, so you're definitely not gonna want to miss them. A lot of people think child abuse is simply hitting or forgetting to feed your kid, but Rick Sanchez has proven there are multiple bizarre ways to abuse a minor. Rick the isn't exactly the most loving grandpa.
Jeez, Rick, you can't say F you to your granddaughter?
I just did, Morty. Here's dessert.
So it comes as no surprise that he selfishly tricked Morty into doing this disgusting thing just for his own amusement.
Saving the universe, I think. Right, Rick?
Or that he erased Morty's memories without permission. Or that he forced Morty to smuggle mega seeds up his ass despite knowing the awful side effects that would occur. And of course, Rick is not above physically attacking Morty.
Right, Rick? You little son of a Are you a simulation? Huh? You little son of a I'm sorry, Morty. You're a good kid, Morty.
Mental and physical mistreatment can be considered child abuse. Rick committed 6 counts of child abuse in those clips alone. So for that, the penalty can be as high as 10 years in prison. Altogether, Rick's looking at about 60 years in jail. It's the least of what he deserves, though. Remember that time Rick let Morty fly the spacecraft and he ended up crashing and killing an entire family? And that family wasn't just any old family?
Morty, what did you do? You killed the Simpsons, Morty! No.
If the Simpsons had a higher age rating, there would have been for sure blood and guts absolutely everywhere. Rick scoops up some cadaver goo and tells Morty to take it through the portal and clone the family. While Morty's off doing that, Rick cleans up the crime scene, loots the family's stuff, and drinks Homer's beer. However, Ned Flanders catches him red-handed.
Who are you?
If you're wondering why Rick is wearing Marge's jewelry and playing Lisa's sax, just look at the piles of empty beer cans in the background. There's your answer. When Morty returns, they bring the Simpsons back to life. Kind of.
Wow.
I can't believe this fricker left the family mutated, stole the kids' toys, and didn't even bother unfreezing Flanders. In less than 3 minutes, Rick committed 4 very serious crimes. Reckless endangerment for allowing Morty to drive without a license in the first place, warrants 1 year in prison. Obstruction of justice for covering up the crime, another year. Petty theft for stealing the Simpsons stuff, 364 days in jail. Assault for shooting Flanders with the freeze ray, 20 years in the slammer. And mayhem for turning the Simpsons into disgusting mutants, an extra 40 years. Sorry, did I say 4 crimes earlier? I meant to say 5. Honestly, probably more that I'm forgetting. Altogether, that's a sentence just 2 days shy of 63 years. But the Simpsons' lives are worth way more than that. You'd think with all his super high-tech gadgets, Rick would consider physical fighting beneath him. But he's always down for a good old-fashioned punch-up, and he'll take on any opponent, including the Greek god Zeus. Rick Prime, his son-in-law, and a bunch of jerks who honestly deserved what happened to them.
Stupid words!
Stupid mother...
He gon' give it to you, but we gonna rock, we gonna fall.
That's probably where he got the confidence to try and beat up Zeus. We saw Rick get humbled in one of those clips, but jail time might humble him some more, hopefully. He committed 8 counts of assault, and his total sentence would be 75 years for those. That's 70 for his more hardcore fight, and 5 for slapping Jerry for being annoying. Everybody thinks Rick couldn't care less about Morty, but one time he broke into one of the world's most off-limits places to try and make his grandson happy. When a monster attacks a janitor in the Kennedy sex tunnels of the White House, the president calls Rick and Morty for help. The two of them arrive through a portal and agree to kill the monster in hopes of getting a selfie with the president later. However, working for the president makes them feel lame, so they abandon the job without killing anything. Back home, they just play Minecraft and believe the government still thinks they're in the tunnel. But the government has actually been monitoring the pair's every move.
Yellow.
Hi guys, U.S. President calling. How's it going?
Just hard at work on this sex tunnel gagoo.
You lying I see your asses playing Minecraft. I got you on satellite. What do you have to say for yourself?
This got the same vibe of a teacher catching you on YouTube when you're supposed to be working. Later that day, Rick receives an update about a new alien species in the Amazon and rushes there, only to find the government is already at the scene. For bailing on the president earlier, Rick and Morty are handcuffed and stripped of their American citizenship, but Rick simply lasers off their restraints and they escape through a portal. The government returns to the White House, but cannot track down Rick and Morty on any surveillance camera. This is because the two of them are right next door.
God damn it, they're right here!
They're here, goddammit.
Everybody relax.
I love how Morty barely even looks up from his laptop. Rick says he'll only leave if the president takes a selfie with Morty. Of course, the president refuses, and Rick gets into an epic battle with him over the stupid picture. Rick wins the fight, gets the president in the headlock, and calls Morty over to take the selfie. But Morty's already gone home and never actually wanted a selfie with the president in the first place. That means Rick hilariously committed a bunch of crimes for absolutely no reason. His first crime was trespassing on government property that'll earn him 10 years in prison. Next, he slaughtered like 12 government agents. That's another 360 years for murder. Lastly, he caused colossal amounts of destruction to government property. So Rick in total is serving 380 years because of a selfie. Morty probably would have become a model citizen rather than a menace had his parents put Rick in that retirement home. He is the ultimate bad influence and is always encouraging or just outright demanding his grandson commit crime. I mean, just listen to him here.
This is awesome. Morty, this is really cool. You want to help me out here and kill some people? Fun.
And here.
We have to go do a piece of Star Wars.
Soliciting, commanding, or encouraging Morty to break the law means Rick is an accomplice in the commission of Morty's crimes. Knowing how irresponsible the mad scientist is and all the crazy happenings that go down during his adventures, I estimate that Rick has acted as an accomplice to Morty in at least 50 of the show's 71 episodes so far. The offense carries felony charges, so that's 250 years at the bare minimum. With a sentence like that, I'm sure Rick will regret not voluntarily putting himself in an old folks home. Did you know Rick has a long history of drug smuggling? As we talked about earlier in the pilot episode of Rick and Morty, Rick convinces Morty to smuggle mega seeds up his bum after confessing why he can't do it himself.
These seeds aren't going to get through customs unless they're in someone's rectum, Morty. I've done this too many times, Morty, and your anal cavity is still taut yet malleable. You gotta put these seeds inside your butt. Please, Morty.
Doesn't Morty have another grandpa named Leonard or something? Maybe you should consider hanging out with him instead. We don't know how many times Rick has smuggled illegal substances up his butt before, but to have permanently damaged his asshole, he must have done it a hell of a lot. Drug smuggling carries a maximum sentence of 10 years, so if Rick has done it at least 100 times, that's obviously 1,000 years in prison. Furthermore, Rick would get 20 years for soliciting murder, because remember, in that same episode, he told Morty to kill the customs guards.
It's okay to shoot them, they're robots! They're not robots, Rick! It's a figure of speech, Morty. Just keep shooting, Morty.
Either Morty's combat skills are out of this world, or those guards lied on their resumes. And don't forget also, Rick crushed an alien to death while outrunning security. It's amazing how fast Morty can run with giant seeds up his butt. I know I couldn't do that. Never mind, that's another 10 years for manslaughter. Rick's experiments are always crazy and bizarre, but sometimes they can be downright cruel. The scientist has tortured a baby alien in the garage.
Your face. Are you afraid of me now?
Decapitated a rat as Pickle Rick, slaughtered a kind animal who saved his life, and caused the deaths of potentially billions of snakes by altering their planet's timeline. I feel like Rick is probably the reason why Snuffles was never seen again in the show. Animal cruelty carries a maximum penalty of 5 years, so Rick's sentence could be as high as 5 billion years, assuming he wiped out at least 1 billion snakes. One of Rick's favorite pastimes is visiting different dimensions and meeting alien life, but he's anything but a peaceful visitor. For example, in the episode Promortius, we saw Rick and Morty destroy the entire alien civilization of Glorzo twice. Rick and Morty land on a planet inhabited by an alien species named Facehuggers. Rick wants to kill all the aliens as he believes they're just low-life parasites, and he's completely shocked when he discovers a developed city on the planet.
Yeah, this might be a little harder than I thought. Holy shit, they've got an M&M store.
Right, now every time I eat M&Ms, I'll think of a hideous parasitic monster. The two of them find their lost spacecraft, but the Facehuggers have tied it to a ship filled with alien eggs that they plan to drop on Earth. Rick and Morty try to sneak onto the ship by wearing Facehugger corpses as disguises, and when their terrible disguises fail, they make a run for it, destroying Glorzo Pearl Harbor style on the way out.
I am the god of death!
They head back to Earth and laugh about the whole thing over breakfast. Those two really are a pair of sick aren't they? But they immediately stopped laughing once they realized they left Summer behind. The pair returned to the destroyed city of Glorzo expecting the worst. However, Summer is perfectly safe and appears to be having the time of her life with the facehuggers.
So come with us if you want to live at a lower standard than this, I guess. God damn.
Summer has already grown tired of being Empress and wants to go back to Earth. To try and escape, she sentences Rick and Morty to death by...
Yes, place them in the car.
No, this is like torture. No, I hate being in my car.
You deserve it.
The facehuggers aren't dumbasses and know that they're all trying to escape. So the aliens try to seize them, but Rick has already figured out a way to kill off the species en masse.
Jesus, Morty, that's hot.
We thought you were evil. Why would you think that?
That's probably how every parent feels at their kid's recital. Deliberately murdering all those creatures simply because they were facehuggers is pretty gentle. Is one of the most serious violations of international law, and Rick's trial would be governed by the United Nations and take place on Glorzo. If found guilty, he'd definitely be locked up for life, and even if he was given a chance of parole, he'd need to wait 30 billion years just to apply. That's 30 years for each of the billion facehuggers I estimated Rick killed. But wait, it gets worse. Releasing dangerous bacteria, viruses, or alien species into the environment is just an average Monday morning for the mad scientist known as Rick Sanchez. We once saw Rick turn almost everyone on Earth into human mantis hybrids after giving Morty a botched love potion to use on his crush. And when he tried to fix things by releasing an antidote into the air, he made the worst pandemic ever known 10 times worse. Rick also conducted an experiment with contaminated horse semen and caused a terrifying outbreak of mutant sperm. Rick's bungled experiments have risked completely wiping out the human race and annihilating Earth's ecosystems. He would certainly be charged with 2 counts of bioterrorism and sentenced to life in prison. With parole eligibility, that's a minimum sentence of 60 years. Like, at least 1 billion civilians have died as a result of the Cronenberg and sperm monster outbreaks. The minimum life sentence for murder in Washington is 30 years, so that's an insanely long 30 billion year sentence, and I'm not even done yet. Rick could also be charged with mayhem for turning like 50% of Earth's population into human mantis hybrids. Mayhem is the crime of disfiguring or maiming another person and carries a maximum sentence of 40 years. That means Rick would be imprisoned for an insanely mind-boggling 160 billion years. Dude, the pointy ends of Rick's hair might as well symbolize daggers, because the guy may have like the highest kill count of any character I've ever covered in these videos. Let me walk you through just some of Rick's bloodiest kills.
Back to the drawing board.
Put your
Judging by the fact that Rick once destroyed an entire miniverse, I think, 100 billion is like a fair estimate as to how many people he slaughtered. Altogether, it's just ridiculous at this point. That is 2 trillion years for murder. You ready to hear the total amount of time Rick Sanchez would spend behind prison bars? I don't think you're ready, but here it is. Rick Sanchez would be spending 2,225,000,1,778 years behind bars. But is the mad scientist really the worst villain ever? Click the screen to find out how other characters compare.